back to TARTLEcast. It's a beautiful morning again here in sunny New Mexico. Lucky us.
And they should enjoy this new HD look, 4K that we have.
A new camera setup.
Yeah, a new camera setup. That is, these cameras are very, very expensive.
They're very expensive. Very nice.
So let's hope it's recording.
We will. Yeah, hopefully I know how to use correct. If we lose video on this episode, you know why. It's because I don't know what I'm doing.
But since our downloads have been going through the roof on audio, I know a lot of you listen just on audio. I want to talk about this article, and it's really, really cool. It says, Tuna's Last Stand.
And disclaimer, I watched Seaspiracy recently. I am still fired up about it.
Seaspiracy, everyone should watch that.
It's on Netflix, yeah.
Skipjack are the world's most abundant tuna. They're resilient, but can they outswim, no pun intended, our demand for this pantry staple?
No.
So, yeah, and they have charts on this.
I walked into Whole Foods yesterday, doing some grocery shopping. And I found out it's actually not more expensive at all.
I think Amazon helped with that a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you know what it is that's expensive is the processed food. Stuff that's in the frozen aisle. I avoid that like the plague.
Right.
But so I go down one aisle and it's got some canned stuff in there. And it's got shelves of tuna. Tons and tons of tuna. No one's buying it. How is there demand? Why does it have so much spacing on the shelf and nobody's buying it? Think about it. You have to go into the ocean, rake the ocean, take the lives of all the tuna fish, kill them all, and whatever else gets raked up at the same time, just so you can stuff it in a can so it sits there and no one buys it.
Well, I think the shelf life's pretty long in those, right? With the oil and all that.
Doesn't matter.
But I'm just saying, you're asking the question. I think that they enjoy the idea. I mean, obviously, majority of our things since the 1930s, 40s have been put in cans.
Yeah.
So when you look at all the cans that are on the shelves, whether they're beans or whatever they may be, tuna, I think it's just an easy process.
Nope.
And then the shelf life is forever. So they can reshuffle things. The demand is huge according to this chart.
Is the demand huge? Because when I walk into a store, I don't see people ripping tuna off the shelves.
Well, the tons of tuna caught by species, I have the chart on that. 1950s, it was about 700,000. And skipjack tuna is number one. Yellowfish tuna, big eye tuna.
700,000 metric tons?
Yeah, 700,000 metric tons of tuna.
Okay.
Now, with skipjack tuna, we are at, I want to make sure I say this right, 6.1 million.
Metric tons per year.
Yes. So we went from 1950s, we went from 700,000 to now we're at 6.1 million.
Tons.
Yes.
It's 2.2 thousand pounds times 6 million.
That's a lot of tuna. And so...
Could you imagine that many human bodies piled that high?
Well, think about it.
Do you know how many humans would have to accrue to that weight? We'd have to throw a net on, drag them, and kill them? Just so we can stuff them in a can?
Well, I mean, just take 6 million people. What's a 6 million city? I mean, there's quite a bit of them that are large cities. It takes every year that city goes away.
Yeah, every year. Gone, bye.
Yeah, I mean, it would be the same equivalent.
Listen, I'm not saying don't eat fish. I'm saying what we are doing is far beyond the need of the resource.
But I think it's systematic because this is a global issue. Because, yeah, you may be getting your tuna and the can may say that it was, pole and rod and it was done right. And, it has all these things and it's sustainable and blah, 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 blah. It's organic. I mean, the list, I don't know how you can have organic tuna, but because tuna is tuna, wherever it comes from. And there's so many chemicals in the water.
There's no methyl mercury in this tuna. Yeah.
But you can't, it's like this guy lives in a different.
Oh, he looks organic. He's a little bit smaller than the
He's more silvery.
Friend. Yeah, he's silvery.
He's healthy.
He's an organic tuna. He's got more parasites on him.
But the problem is the global issue, because what you have, whenever you have, and this is where the globe needs to get together, and this is where peace is so important, which is one of our global peace on our Big Seven.
Can we have peace with species also?
Yeah, but peace with species. But this whole idea of these fishing vessels know where to go according to the laws. Not only are they following these schools of fish wherever they're going, but they also know like what waters or what seas to go into based off of the laws and how lax the laws are.
Of course.
So when you're looking at tuna as just a piece of meat, and there's no other value than it just being a supposedly a renewable resource of a piece of meat, and I can extract as much as I want to gain an ROI, which we've done, and that's why we're in the problem that we're at now with this climate emergency that we have. We've literally done this to the earth over and over and over again, and we can see on the charts, yeah, it starts at 700 million, but then this slippery slope happens, and now it's 2000, in 21, and this chart ended 2015, by the way. So it was at 6.1 million in 2015.
By the way, this data, we went to the people that reported it and how they collected it. It's only from captains that chose to report it.
Yes.
What about all the people that don't choose to report it? What about the ones that fish illegally? And by the way, when I look at this entire thing, when I actually review this in my mind, we look at the earth as an economic resource. You don't look at it as the earth. You don't look at tuna as a fish. You look at it as a dollar value. That's what people look at. That's the problem. Our perspective does not respect the fish for being a fish. We only look at it in the sense of its dollar value. We don't look at it in the sense of how it's an ecosystem balancer in the ocean. There's a reason why there's a plethora of that skipjack.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why those coral reefs are dying. There's a reason why there's an increase in this and a decrease in that. If there's a decrease in sea turtles, there's an increase in large sea nulls or those large jellyfish that have like 30-foot tails on them in the ocean. Because if they can't eat that, then there's an overabundance of it. So what's going on with the skipjack? Why are there too many? And then you start to pull it out of the ocean when it could have been something that was balancing, because in our feeble little minds, we haven't been thinking about the systemic effects of what we were doing, short and long term. We're just pulling it out because it gets us $1 right now, and we feel good because we went home and we sold it at the local fish market, and we got $3,000 per tuna.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even. It's just like I don't mean to call them out, but
call them out.
But Starkist and all these, they seem to be the most popular, and now they're doing this buffalo flavored bacon ranch, spicy Korean,
plain tuna. They're like, we can capture a different segment of the market if we put it in flexible packaging and we season it ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. And 60% of all canned tuna is skipjack. So because all these fishermen are doing is going to where
whichever has the biggest hive,
whichever has the biggest hive.
Where's the most amount of honey?
Yes, exactly. And they're taking these huge monsters nets that go miles and miles that have no. That's the problem I have with net fishing. It has no discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
There can be an endangered dolphin, which there's several species that are endangered dolphin. They have a higher intelligence than we do in some areas.
Yeah.
And now you just killed a dolphin, which I believe this is my personal belief. I believe 40, 50 years from now, we're going to look at, killing these and I've talked about this, these higher conscious, high intelligent animals. And we're going to look at that as, same as human rights.
Can I ask you something? What if I went around one of these local neighborhoods, a well-off neighborhood around here, and I started rounding up all the dogs?
Oh, people.
No, hold on. Let me walk you through the story.
You
ready for this? Let's think about this in perspective here, so we can just shake some reality into some idiots around around the planet at the moment. I go into a well-off neighborhood. I collect all these $3,000 dogs. Right, it's about the value of the tuna.
Right.
I throw them all in a net. I drag them down the street on the pavement. Okay. I bring them to my front yard, and I kill every single one of them. I chop them up. I take all the hair off, right? Even like I'm descaling a fish. Take it all off, pull the bones out, clean the dog, chop it up, throw it in some packaging, and then put some seasoning on it, throw it on the shelf in Whole Foods. How do you think people would feel?
They'd be disgusted.
They'd be disgusted.
Your company would not.
Why are you not disgusted with the fact that we are raking millions upon millions of another animal at twice the weight and size, just as majestic in its own beauty? But because it's not domesticated to you, because you didn't put a dollar value on how you eat this thing, you look at it differently?
Well, people don't realize every year this is how much. If you lined up, this is just one.
Does that not resonate with you though?
No,
before you jump? Because I think it's just absolutely absurd. If I walked around and started pulling up dogs and say, we're all going to eat these, people would be up in arms.
Well, in some cultures, they eat dog. So it's not a big deal.
So how come I can't go into this neighborhood? But what, these people who own these $3,000 dogs will go into Whole Foods and continue to buy the tuna? They'll go to the fish counter and continue to buy all this stuff? Without it just, I don't really care. I'm just buying it. No big deal.
Well,
Don't
I mean,
think
we
about
have
it.
this, depending on culture, we have this idea of what animal's sacred, what one's not, what one we can eat, what we can't.
You know what it is? It's hypocritical. The highest order. It's so freaking hypocritical. It's like insane. That's all it is.
But how do we fix the system?
How do you fix a system? Stop taking so much fish out of the ocean. Cut it out. Stop the mass commercial fishing. If you see the issue in monocropping with vegetables on land, or the issues with having too many cows on land, what happens when you're going out with commercial vessels and you're just monofishing at a maximum? Do you think that's going to help anything? It hasn't helped anything. It's never helped anything.
So if you lined up all the skipjack tuna caught in the Western Central Pacific, just in the Western Central Pacific, and you lined them up nose to tail, they would encircle the planet 12 times in 1 year.
So because there's such a large amount of them, does that mean it's okay? No one will notice?
But see, this is the problem that we have. This is a philosophical issue.
I don't think it's even philosophical.
No, because we feel as humans, well, it is because we feel as humans that because something is abundant, we have a right to take from it.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many trees in the rainforest, then we have, and the rainforest is so huge, then we have a right as humans. We're not looking at ourselves as the dolphin and I being one. That's the problem. We're not looking. We even do that with humans. Like someone in Cambodia is less than someone in Malaysia. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Our vice versa. I mean, cultures do that. They're like, well, my religion's number one. And so since my religion's number one and my flag is number one, then I'm better than everybody else.
I'm not going to mention name, but somebody asked, well, why don't you have more signups in the United States?
Yeah.
And then I would ask, well, what the fuck are you really asking me? Tell me how you really feel.
Because of perceived value.
Perceived value. Interesting. Humans more valuable in the U.S.? Are they? No, they're not.
Monetarily, but this is the same process.
This is my point. Monetarily, they have a higher dollar value. I'm not looking at you as a human being. But I'm not looking at the fish as a fish.
Skipjack tuna, because it's so abundant and resilient, they're like, well, let's just take from that. Because this is the problem. It's the taking part.
There's 7.5 billion human beings. Should we start taking from them? Because they're abundant?
Well, what's the difference? I mean, we might as well have slave trade.
That's my point.
Oh, yeah.
What's the difference? We do have slave trade.
Trafficking.
But that's my dude. Listen, that is my point. Your data is screaming at you that you're a hypocrite. It's screaming at you. It screams at you that you're killing the earth because you're walking around blind to your actions.
And it's just a matter of people deciding to make a better choice.
And I'm not saying don't eat meat, none of that. I'm not saying go off the
But make a
end.
better choice.
I'm just saying make better choices because the choices you're making now are killing the planet, it's killing species, and it's killing you.
I mean, do you really need, think about it. Do you really need this or this or this? But that it is philosophical because it's all based off of us taking for our happiness, these external things that we view. And I want to put this back to TARTLE because this is very, very important. When we look at every single user that's on TARTLE, and we respond to them, I'll get them, you get them, we respond to them.
Every single person that's on TARTLE?
I don't sit there and say, oh, this person's from this country, so I don't really
respond to him later.
Yeah, I'll respond to him later. Or maybe the email wasn't done in perfect English, so I'll respond to them. I mean, I don't even do, you see my emails.
Yeah.
They do a better job than me.
I think you're off planet the way you write your stuff.
I'm so fast. I don't want to look at it. Spell check, what is that?
Yeah.
You'll get the gist.
Yeah, I get it.
But I mean, whenever you look at this, where is this whole idea of, because this is a problem we have with, this is going to be a problem we're going to have with artificial intelligence and machine learning. And this goes right back into collecting big data. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to get into the bucket thing. I want to get away from that and kind of go macro. Whenever we begin to put monetary value on things, whether they're living things, tuna, trees, people, whatever it may be, this is a slippery slope that happens with corporations
Jason.
And governments.
Excellent point. And then the algorithm itself is going to be completely biased towards economic gain. I'm more worried about economic gain than life.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
I am more worried about economic gain than human life. I'm more worried about gain now than longevity 40 years from now.
Because ultimately an AI is going to turn around and say, well, let's just eliminate all these people in these countries.
Yeah, get rid of them.
And
yeah,
then
they're not efficient. We can actually still
we
make
just
more
need
money.
farmers.
Yeah, perfect.
So we'll eliminate anybody that's not a farmer. In Africa, anybody that's not a farmer, since there's so many natural resources in Africa, and that's why everybody wants to go in Africa, all these companies. So we need lithium, we need this, we need that. So let's just have the farmers work, and then everybody else, let's kill.
Yeah, why not?
So we'll have a very minimal population in Africa, and then the only people we do have are the ones that need to farm, and then we'll slowly replace them with robots.
If anyone says it's like that's absurd to kill them, what about everything else you kill?
Yeah.
Trees, plants, animals, birds, things that cry, fall, that or people. Come on. What are you talking about? That's absurd. None of that shouldn't be absurd at all for you. Check your own moral compass. Your logic is jacked. It's whacked. It's out of proportion.
Well, you know, and I want to give a shout out to Starbucks, like for instance, because they really made a decision. I mean, they single-handedly control the coffee industry.
They do.
The coffee beans. I mean, they're so big. They're like the Walmart of coffee.
Yeah.
So they have came in and hands on the ground. I mean, they have pictures and videos of this where they've come in and said, if a farmer is doing bad practices, then we're not buying the beans from them.
Good.
Period.
Even if they're cheaper.
Yes. Even if they're cheaper. Yeah. And people don't mind paying, you know, if you're going to pay $4 for a cup of coffee, paying $4.22 doesn't affect people. I would rather pay 22 more cents and make sure that the beans were sourced properly, that it's environmental friendly than the way that the farmers are doing it. Because you can farm and it be renewable.
Absolutely.
In whatever it is, whether it's plants or animals or whatever it is.
Re-enrich all the soil too.
And yes.
There is so much data to show that can happen, but that practice is ignored. It's completely ignored.
So if we would 100% go into this, and then we can turn around and we know within 20, 30 years, we can reverse. They've proven this. We can reverse all of this. So if we went 100% into this, decided to reverse, and then when we die, then we've turned around, we've renewed it in such a good way that we've actually put an extra 90 years.
It's great.
From our 30 years. What a way to leave this earth. And leave it to your children and say, you know what? We spent 30 years doing this, but we actually gave you another 90 years. And you're eating fine.
I got goosebumps down my back.
And everything's great.
So
now they're going to turn around and say, now the next generation is going to turn around and say, my parents did 90 years.
Yeah.
With the technology that we have.
Let's crack that out of the park.
Let's knock it to 180
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Let's triple it.
Yeah.
Let's set a benchmark.
Why technology could do that.
Why don't we set a competition for life?
Yes.
Why has it got to be a competition of economic value? Haven't you seen everybody, my God, take the blinders off? It is killing you and the planet. Have you not seen that? Are you so blind to something like that? I'm not saying profits are bad. I'm saying profiteering is bad. When you don't look at the value of human life. If you look at profits and human life and you bring them together, if you marry them in an appropriate marriage of these two things, awesome. As human life benefits, then profits can benefit, great. But if profits are benefiting and human life is fading, that is a problem. That is a miss. You have missed the mark. You're a pathetic example for what it means to be a human being or running a business. That is a joke.
Well, you turn into, shout out to authoritarianism, you turn into China.
Yeah, that's precisely correct.
You have these other Asian countries that are doing amazing. And they're having technology and they're working with human rights. And then you have China who turns around and says, well, here's what we want to do. We want to be number one and competitive. And so at whatever cost.
Whatever cost, yeah.
But this is really interesting. I was listening to Economist yesterday and he said this. And I thought this was really cool.
Why do you listen to Economists?
But this guy seemed to be legit. They were talking about this. I mean, I don't know, but he said, we need to have him on the podcast.
He sounded legit. Yeah.
He said he was talking about intelligence with terrorism. Like he said, if you had $1 million, and this is Economist thing, if you knew you could wipe out a big city for $1 million. So now you begin to think how many people that have $1 million that would actually want to take all that $1 million and wipe out a whole city
for their benefit.
Well, just to create a terror, because that's a terrorism, terrorist act.
Trying to understand where this is going.
Okay, like Hitler believed, even though he actually believed he was doing greater good for Germany. In his dumb, horrible
anti-human
regime. But in his mind, he thought He wasn't like a terrorist, like in the sense of saying,
Where are you going with this?
no, this is really great. So whenever you look at that, how many people in the world that have $1 million that would want to blow up a whole city? Actually, probably not that many.
Probably not that many.
So when we do take this little bit of people that want to do pure evil, it's actually really, really small.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So the people that have the resources to actually do something terrible don't do it. But the people that don't have the resource to do it but want to do something truly terrible is just so small.
And that's why he goes, even with the problems, he said, even in the United States with the problems with capitalism, even in the United States with the problem of corporate, reign over politics, he goes, the intent is for the most part, most scientists, most CEOs, most everybody is not a terrorist, pure evil type person.
It sounds like they're an earth terrorist though.
Yeah, well, I mean... But when you look at,
if you're not shooting people or blowing up a city, you're blowing up the earth.
Yeah, but when you look at China, he said the reason they will not win in the end is because of the human rights. Because no country,
no one will win if you don't respect human beings.
No country can sustain itself if it treats its people like cattle.
Look what happened. Remember Russia? All the people starving to death, and then what happened? You go to the market and you had to buy human flesh.
Yeah.
Because you were starving to death. That was the only meat that was available.
Because the system, he talked about that too. He said even in Russia it was really bad because now you get into where we're bartering stuff back and forth. Mm-hmm. So there's no tracking of that in a monetarily way. So now your economy begins to decline because now I'm cutting the government out of everything. So now I'm only cutting the government out of everything. Now I have a philosophical view where we need to be equal. Mm-hmm. And if we're not equal, then I have rage against you. And then I need to take what's yours and give it to mine. That's what, socialism turns into in extremes.
This is fun.
And so whenever you begin to look at like a China, who obviously they don't even care about their people. So them caring about the planet is the least of their worries.
Yeah.
The Republic of China, or whatever they call it, the China Communist Party.
How is Bhutan squeezed into the armpit of China then? Happiest country on earth. It's also extremely poor. I don't get it. They have low technology, and they're happy as a clam. Very minimal impact on the planet. Love nature. Doing it great. Respecting other human beings, and they're fucking flourishing.
Well, I mean, there's a reason for that.
I know there is.
And they did that whole thing, the happiest people. I watched that Netflix special too, and they were showing people in Siberia how happy they were. And they're living in a harsh climate.
Dude, we have missed the mark.
We have.
We've missed the mark.
And skipjack tuna is not the answer.
It will not be. Canned tuna will never be the answer. Buffalo sauce on tuna is not the answer.
Stop with all these sauces. Come on. Even though I like, I told you about the little treat at the airport with the cauliflower. The buffalo sauce.
Cauliflower sauce.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's awesome.
Okay, enough of this. I think we rambled for how long?
I don't know. Enough to sauce the episode.
23 minutes. Yeah. Okay, we're out.
See ya.